Welcome back, folks, to the Backwoods Gourmet. Today we're going to put together a great dish that I came up with back a few years ago for gumbo using panfish. If you've seen our last video, catching shell crackers on Lake Toho, we're going to use those and make a great gumbo. We're going to use the good old number 12 Dutch oven here. And instead of doing it over the open fire today, it's kind of windy. The wood got wet yesterday from the rain, so we're just going to go ahead and do it for you guys up on the fish burner there. What we're going to do is starting out with the already cleaned, scaled, headed, and degutted shell cracker here. And what we're going to do is just fillet it, just like you would fillet any other fish. Just go ahead and take a nice sharp knife, get in there, and we'll take the side meat off of them. I'm not going to give you a step-by-step on how to fillet. You can look at a million different YouTube videos and see how to do this. Our big thing is we don't have any bones in these fillets, so we're going to go ahead and like square cut them and then check to make sure you don't have any bones in them. So, and then we're going to take our fillet and we're going to cube it up in about 1-inch cubes or so. So we'll go ahead and cut them that way. Right, so you can leave the skin on. We need the skin to stay on these cubes. So we'll just cube that up. Not real important. We'll put that aside in one bowl. Go ahead and get the other side of them. This doesn't have to be pretty. You're just trying to preserve most of the meat. Now we're going to leave all this on the rib cage. Okay, this goes in this bowl, and we'll show you what we're going to do with that in a minute. Go ahead and cube this one up. We'll finish with the rest. Okay, we got our 4 that are ready for our recipe. We got 2 left over, so we're going to go ahead and prep these for grilling or frying. And this is a little trick I want to show you with these panfish. Once they're, all scaled and gutted and clean, it's a simple. An old Haitian lady showed me this, and she actually made me some crappie done this way, and they were awesome. And I've been doing it ever since. So I'm giving you a big secret here. Just take your whole fish. If you cook this whole, this skin's kind of tough. It's it's the way most people done them, the way I grew up eating them. But this is going to allow you to be able to eat the whole fish without getting any bones with just a fork. And it's a simple thing. We're just going to crisscross it right down to that bone about every inch or so in one direction. Turn him around, come back the other way, and just cut right down to that bone. And what that does is opens these up into little cubes. And when they'll open up even further when they're cooked. And you can just take your fork and lift that whole chunk of meat right off and leave all the bones behind. So it only takes just a couple of minutes, as you can see, to do quite a few of these. A good sharp knife, and make sure you're cutting all the way down to those bones, and that'll lift right off. So finish that one up. We'll throw him on the grill since he's already he's out here and ready to go. This also, when you batter these, it gives a place for that batter to go down into those cracks. And make sure you work them back and forth in your cornmeal or whatever kind of fish fry you're going to use on them. And that works its way down in these cracks and makes each one of those little diamond-shaped pieces just even better with the meal down in there, and just gets so much crispier. And also the presentation, I think, is really nice compared to just doing them the old-fashioned way like Grandma used to do them. So that's a little trick from the Backwoods Gourmet. Try it. Once you try it this way, you'll probably never go back to doing it the other way. So we'll get them ready to go back in the fridge. Alright, we got our Dutch oven fired up here. So we're just going to take the brim carcasses that are left, top from a sweet onion, dump them in the pot. About 2 teaspoons of kosher salt on top of them, and we're just going to cover them with water. Just enough to cover them down in there. Get them all kind of nestled in there flat. Get the hot cold onion up on the top. Alright, we'll just put the lid on that and bring that up to a boil. I'll let it simmer about an hour. That's it for that. All right, real quick, we're just going to check the water level on these guys. Make sure they still got plenty of water. And you can see what we're making here basically is a fish stock. So they're doing fine. Alright, let's go over the ingredients you're going to need for the rest of this recipe. First of all, we have okra. We didn't have any fresh yet. It's not ready yet this year, so this is frozen from last year. It works just fine. You need 3 cobs of sweet corn. Okay, this is fresh Florida sweet corn. Whatever kind of sweet corn you can find. If you can't find fresh, try frozen cobs. Okay, next thing, ketchup. This is the new all-natural Hunt's no high fructose corn syrup ketchup. Awesome. Need diced tomatoes. These are our own canned Romas from last year. Need some salt, need some butter, and here we have a blend of a tablespoon of garlic, a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of sea salt, a tablespoon of dried basil. Okay, adjust those as you like. Next, it's 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Here's about 3 tablespoons of chopped fresh chili pepper. We did blanch those ahead of time, take a little heat off of them. We got about 3/4 of a cup of cubed salt pork. Okay, back here, there's our fish with our cubes that we done earlier. Then we have our trinity. We have our about a cup of celery, about a 1/2 cup of diced carrot, about 2.5–3 cups of chopped fresh green onion, and about 1.5 cups of cubed eggplant. Now on your eggplant, you need to peel that, cube it, put it in some salt water, leave it set in the refrigerator at least 30 minutes before you use it. That'll take some of the bitterness off of it. So you got plenty of time while the fish are cooking to get all these things together. I'm not going to spend any time chopping and showing you things that chefs always waste your time with. Everybody knows how to chop up a veggie. In addition to those ingredients, you're going to need a couple tablespoons of regular all-purpose flour and a couple tablespoons of cornstarch. Okay, when you're cooking your corn, put just enough water in the pot to make the corn cobs float. Put your butter in and just like 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. You don't want to get this broth too salty. So just enough, and it'll reduce the time it takes to boil down or reduce the liquid that's going to be left. These will be reserved as a side for our gumbo. You can certainly do it over the open fire, just like we've done some of the other episodes cooking on the open fire. So you can do this at fish camp, wherever you want to do it. We're going to move pretty fast. There's going to be a lot of ingredients, a lot of steps. Don't worry, I'm going to post the whole thing up at the end of the video here, so you can pause it and write everything down if you missed anything. So we'll get cooking. Okay, well, it's been a little over an hour. Our fish broth is ready there. We just pulled it off the fire. Here you're going to need some some hand protection, some good gloves. This one here is great. This is a barbecue mitt. And the other one is just a regular old pot holder. We got a large bowl with a fine sieve. Now don't try to use a colander for this. It just doesn't work. Too many of the bones and things like that will actually go through it. So we want to just dump all this fish from the carcasses into our bowl there. And we'll just rinse this out. And that way we're catching everything that's in there, any kind of little small bones. Smells great. And that's going to be, we're going to use part of this to actually cook our rice, so that we're infusing the rice with some of that flavor. And then the rest we're going to use in our actual gumbo. So we'll go ahead and we'll let this cool down a little bit. But that's this is golden right here. This is what makes this recipe. If you don't do this step, I guess you could use some kind of canned fish broth or seafood broth, but just like doing it with shrimp or other kinds of seafood. Really should stick with the same flavors. So all the goodie from those carcasses are in that broth right there, and that's going to make the big difference in this being okay or just fabulous. Okay, at this point we put the broth back into the pot, and we're just going to get in here and we're just like you'd do with any kind of other broth. Let's take a ladle and we're going to skim off any foam. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Just makes a nice clearer broth. Plus this is going to reduce down a little bit more and get a little bit more intense. Okay, next thing we're going to do is just going to put just a little olive oil on the bottom of our pot, maybe a tablespoon, just to keep our ingredients from sticking there for a minute. Make sure the whole bottom of the pot is covered. Again, no need to clean the pot between these steps. It's all going to be melded into one thing at the end. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and throw in our salt pork, and we're going to let that render down a little while. Get it all out of there. We got the pan up. Turn it up a little bit. Try to speed this up. So we're just going to render that salt pork down. Start getting some of the oils coming out of that. You can also use bacon, any other kind of cured meat. But it won't take long for that to start to brown and start to render. So now we're going to take about half of our onions, which we had quite a bit. We have 2 cups. As that's starting to get going there, just going to put about maybe half of those in there. I'm going to start to soften those up. Let them go for a second. Well, I've been developing this recipe for a couple years now, trying to find a way to use our panfish that we catch here without prawning, Okay, well at this point now, our onions are starting to soften up, starting to brown a little bit, and I'm sure everybody in sniffing distance right now is jumping up out of their chair and going, what is the Backwoods Gourmet cooking today? Because it smells good. So those are getting about ready. What we're going to do next is we're just going to create a simple roux, just like they do out in Louisiana. We're just going to sprinkle in them a little bit of, maybe 2 tablespoons of flour, and let that kind of absorb the oil that's in the bottom of the pan there. And this is kind of an eyeball kind of thing. When you stop putting it in there when it's kind of absorbed most of the oil. And you don't want it to still be a lot of puddles of oil, and this flour will kind of soak it up. So it's kind of an eyeball thing. So all that those salt pork pieces and onions are also, the flour is sticking to them. So these are all going to help to thicken this. Gumbo is basically a soup or a thin stew, so you're going to have some kind of thickening agent in it. And this is one of them. This is a basic kind of a gumbo base, and you want to keep it moving up off the bottom of the pan there so it doesn't burn. Alright, so we got that in there. It's already toasting the flour off. The next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take our tomato paste, and we're going to brown the tomato paste and all this too. So we'll go ahead and put there 2 tablespoons of just standard old tomato paste in there. So I'm going to get that in there, and we'll mix that all in with our roux too. This just helps to kind of caramelize the tomato paste a bit, and wow, the flavor, you can smell the aroma coming off that tomato paste. So this is kind of an important step here for this recipe anyway. You see it kind of browns on the bottom, and that'll create kind of a fond, and then we'll have some broth that's going to raise that fond back up. So we'll get ready for that, and what we're going to do is very shortly, this is getting ready. You start to see these nice dark bits coming up from the flour, the tomato paste, and that's what we want. We want that nice dark fond on the bottom of the pan. When it starts sticking to your spatula like that, it's getting about ready. So we're gonna raise this fond very simply, very soon. Let me go grab our broth. We got quite a good fond there going. We're just going to put a little bit of this in there, just enough to raise the fond up. And you see how it comes right back up off the bottom of the pot. There's a little more. Evaporated quite quickly. This is our fish stock going back in here. So that'll also thicken up from the flour and make almost a gravy. See how that's thickening up there. And we want it to thicken a little bit before we put all of it in there. So that's looking pretty good. It smells awesome. Now we'll go ahead and just put the rest in now that it's started to thicken. And then while we got our onions here, we'll just go ahead and dump them in. Real quick, we'll go grab the rest of the veggies and we'll continue. Alright, we got that going good now. We're going to go ahead and put these are our blanched red chili peppers. You might want to test these real quick before you put them in there to see, just how hot they are. These are pretty tame. So we're going to go ahead and put almost all of them in there. You can also always add hot sauce at the end here. So just put them all in there. So that's looking pretty. Now it's time for the other parts of our mirepoix. This is our cup of chopped diced celery. Put that in. We have the last part of the trinity. This is the carrots. Go ahead and dump them in there. So, this time we're going to let that go ahead. We're going to give it this is our reduced liquid from cooking the corn. It's down to about half a cup. So we're just going to go ahead and put that in there. It's going to give all that beautiful corn flavor back to it. And we're going to add just a little bit of water. Maybe about a cup. Just to kind of marry everything together there. So we'll let those veggies go for a second, and then I'll get reset with the rest of the ingredients. We're trying to, everybody's trying to watch their cholesterol, fat intake, that kind of thing now. So we're using very little oil or anything like that in this recipe. And it's really a great way and a great use of these fish. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes. We got that thing going again. It's time to come in with our ketchup now. This is the 100% all natural, no high fructose corn syrup ketchup. It's really good. About the best ketchup I've ever tasted. Also a great ingredient for any kind of ketchup based sauces, especially barbecue sauce you might want to make. Very intense tomato flavor. I'm going to put that in. We're going to go ahead and put our, these are eggplants that we brined. It's just going to give it some body. And then we're going to go ahead and put our spices in there. This is garlic, basil, and salt. Go ahead and put them in there. Give it a good stir. And you immediately smell those spices come to life there. We did add just a little more water. So we're going to actually put the lid back on this and let it simmer for about another 10-15 minutes. You notice the only thing we don't have in there yet is our okra. Now our okra has already been blanched, so we're going to wait a little while to put this in. Now if you're using fresh okra, fresh sliced okra, you want to put it in at this point. Wow guys, I wish you could smell this. It smells awesome. It's been a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pull the lid off here for a sec. Put in our final ingredients. We got just a pint of, these are canned Roma tomatoes from last year since we don't have any fresh ready yet. Put them in, and then we're going to go ahead and just put our okra in. This is about a cup of okra. Gumbo is not gumbo without okra. So, dump them in there, give them a good stir around. And it is looking awesome. You notice how it's thickening up already. The liquid from the okra is going to help this thicken. We don't want it too thick. We don't want it to be stiff. But right now it's pretty close to the right consistency. If it gets any thicker than that, we'll add a little water. So we'll let that simmer for another about 15 minutes. Here's the very last step. We got this up just about to where we want it. We got a nice slow simmer on it, and we've already tasted this and know it needs a little more spice. If I make it too spicy, nobody around here will eat it. Feel free to spice it as hot as you like. We're going to take a little of our homemade chili pepper sauce here. Homemade. This has been curing quite a while, and it gets very hot as the older it gets. So we're just going to give it a dash, and hopefully that's not too much. But gumbo is supposed to be spicy, so we got that in there. Give that a little stir. Okay, and then the very last minute, all this is completely done. We're going to go ahead and put our fish cubes that we did on the very first step. I'm going to go ahead and put them in there. I'll just dump them all in there. I mean, they got the skin on this, so that'll help hold them together. We want these to be, bite-sized pieces in our finished gumbo. So those are all in. We're going to stir them in there. It only takes them like just a few minutes to cook. So as soon as that comes back to simmer, keep from overcooking these fish. We don't want it to fall apart. We want them to maintain their integrity. Oops, missed one. We'll get her in there. Okay. What we're going to do right now is we're going to turn off the fire, put a lid on it, and we'll let it set. Fire's out. Lid's on. Still plenty of fire in there to finish cooking those fish. We'll be ready to eat here shortly. Alright guys, ready to put everything together. So I'm going to show you how to assemble the plate for this dish. Okay, here we go. First thing we have here is we have a nice tureen of rice we just cooked, nice and steaming hot. We have a bowl and plate. I'm going to go ahead and just turn that over right in the middle of the plate, so we have a nice mold there. And we're going to take our shell cracker gumbo and spoon that around it. A nice healthy portion of it there. Sure we get plenty of the liquid in it. Alright, now for garnish, we have some chopped green onions, right fresh from the garden there. We'll sprinkle those over. Get them all on there. We have a nice little fresh onion sprig that we split and soaked. We're going to poke that right down in the top here. It'll look like a couple little palm trees there since we're here in Florida. Beautiful. We take our nice corn on the cob on one side of it here. And here we have homemade fresh herb ciabatta bread with cream cheese. I'm going to go ahead and just arrange those on the side here. clean our plate just a little bit. And that there is a meal fit for a king, and all from natural ingredients. Thanks for watching. If you like our show, please subscribe and share. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a little bit complicated. It does take some time, but it's like I said a bunch of times before this, well worth the effort.